start today with Russiagate. Who knew? 2025, 2016, it's all starting to blend together. Attorney General Pam Bondi tells the Department of Justice to open a grand jury investigation into officials from the Obama administration, and that includes the former president himself.
It's focused on how they handled intelligence about Russian interference in the 2016 election. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard claims recent declassified documents show a, in her words, treasonous conspiracy.
The Hill's Zach Schoenfeld has his ears and eyes on the courts at all times. What do you make of this case?
Well, this is certainly a big escalation. We knew that the Justice Department had been taking a look at a criminal referral that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, had handed over to the Justice Department. But now this is a major step, moving one step closer to actually bringing charges against Obama administration officials. According to this reporting from my colleague Brett Samuels, Attorney General Pam Bondi has directed prosecutors to start going before a grand jury so we could see them start to present evidence, have witnesses come in. But also, of course, there is now the big question, will this grand jury at the end of these proceedings return an indictment against any official?
Well, I was going to say, it's a relatively low bar to have a grand jury listen to evidence, but an indictment is a whole other story.
That's right. And, you know, the saying, though, does go before a grand jury that you can indict a ham sandwich. Oftentimes, a lot of lawyers will tell you that grand juries oftentimes just see this as a rubber stamp sometimes when prosecutors come in. But another one of the big questions as we get into these grand jury proceedings is where geographically is this grand jury convening? It's plausible that it is right here in D.C. If you look to these allegations that Tulsi Gabbard has been making, a lot of that alleged conduct happened right here in the nation's capital. So it's certainly possible that some of our viewers who have been getting grand jury summons that they could be on this grand jury, but there's of course always the possibility that they're bringing this somewhere else, perhaps in a red state where they think they might have a more friendly jury pool.
And we heard the Trump administration in the past criticize D.C. grand juries, thinking about the Jack Smith case, saying that they're not favorable to Donald Trump. I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard, though, because she calls this a, quote, treasonous conspiracy. What are the exact charges? Who is she targeting here?
Well, that is some of the big questions that are still outstanding. This is still a big step to going before a grand jury, but we still don't know what officials they are looking at, who would they look at charging, and if they do want to make that decision, what charges would they actually bring? Because one complicating factor that is going to come into play here is a lot of federal crimes only have a 5-year statute of limitations. So if we're talking about conduct that happened in 2015, 2016, maybe a little bit in early 2017, that's more than 5 years ago. So that's not to say that prosecutors can't come up with some creative solution to show that the conduct continued past then to try to show that that statute of limitations hasn't passed yet, but that is going to be another question as we head into these proceedings.
This whole issue has gotten a lot of attention, and at least until now, there's been no evidence of treasonous activity, so it will be very interesting to see what they glean from it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the grand jury has a lot of powers. They have the ability to subpoena and bring in witnesses. So, some of these documents that have been released by the Trump administration, the grand jury has the potential to bring in some of these officials actually into the picture and actually hear from these people. So even beyond the step of actually seeking those formal charges, there is a lot of powers here that by beginning this grand jury investigation that the Justice Department is going to have, and most notably bring in those witnesses and subpoenas. Think about the Epstein case where we're talking about the Trump administration trying to unseal those grand jury transcripts. Same sort of thing, to see what those witnesses told the grand jury behind closed doors.
And unlike the Epstein files, I would think this case sort of has national security implications with people that she is trying to bring, before this grand jury who were part of the CIA, part of the FBI, dealing with Russian interference in the election.
Yeah, that's right. And these are, of course, going to be, complicating factors that prosecutors are going to have to look at. Of course, these, officials, because we don't know who they're potentially going to indict here. We haven't seen these officials try to lawyer up and start making some of those, potential defenses and all of that. So still a big step here going before a grand jury as we get closer to potentially seeking charges.
Zach Schoenfeld, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.